All right, welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, and as you saw in my TBR, I have a lot of goals this month. Will I accomplish them all? Time will tell, but I'm having a good start. Sorry, moving a stack of books a little bit. So we're going to talk about what I've read so far. It's been a mixed start to the month, but I'm really enjoying what I'm reading right now, so we'll try and get past the negative as quickly as possible. But first, I read a comic. Just like a volume 1, I read Earthdivers, which is a Stephen Graham Jones comic. I heard about it from Ashely at the Bookish Realm because they have this weekly 5 that they're excited about, and I'm very interested in it. I think volume 2 just came out, or not volume 2, issue 2, and the first issue was on Hoopla, so I read it, and it's really interesting. I'm curious to keep going with it. It's about these people who found a way to travel back in time, and I guess their goal is probably to kill Christopher Columbus. So yeah, let's see how that works. I haven't figured out how they're doing everything, but I like the art. I like the idea. It's way too early to tell what's happening because I've only read one issue. I've truly have just showed up, and our character has already had to make some difficult decisions. So we'll see. I read this because of the Skoden readathon, and I heard about it from Ashely, and it was well, yeah. And when the first reading sprints happened, I was I want to read something, and I have this right now, so here we go. Unfortunately, my other read that I first read this month for book club, Boy Snowbird, is a book I would not recommend. And if you're new to my channel, I usually don't recommend or not recommend things. I make recommendation videos, but I typically don't go, I do not recommend this book. But I don't recommend this book because although I think it's beautifully written, Helen Oyeyemi writes beautiful sentences, the ending of it is bad structurally in terms of the narrative work and the thematic content and the character work, everything we were doing. It's bad from that point of view, from an art perspective in my mind, but it's also extremely transphobic. And it's not transphobic in the way where it's pushing against that. It's just tacked on, and it's there, and I don't know why. And from what I can tell from reviews, no one really knows why. I'm not going to say that I know for sure how Helen Oyeyemi thinks or what led to this decision in her art, but it was bad. It was bad from both I wanted to enjoy the end of a book that I was enjoying reading, and from this is just horrible to have in your books. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Don't really want to linger on it. So yeah, and I did hear about the transphobia right after I put it on my TBR, and I had to finish it because I moderate the book club. I get paid in bookstore money to do that. Otherwise, I probably would have just not continued reading it because it was so frustrating to enjoy the first 90% of it, quite a lot, and knowing what was going to come, and then getting to see even just, I knew I wasn't going to like the transphobia, obviously, but then just seeing how much it did not weave into the story at all. It was really frustrating. It was really frustrating. I've sent many a Voxer message to friends to rant about the end of this book. So, alas, I finished it. It's probably going to get a very, very, very low rating from me come the end of the month. But into happier news, I just need to palate cleanse from that and say I finished The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin. First of all, I love how this looks next to The City We Became. I love how they're complementary in every way, and I really like this cover. I like this cover more than The City We Became. And this met my expectations. Which, thank goodness, right? When you have an anticipated release, will it meet your expectations? You never know. And this did. I think the only thing I could say is I wish we'd had more, and I understand why we don't. Honestly, I think the world in which Jemisin wanted to write in when she started this whole project was very different, and you can see in the acknowledgments how difficult it was to be in such a contemporary space, especially when a lot of our country is constantly changing and not always for the better. But in terms of a continuation from the first book, as someone who just loves being in Jemisin's sarcastic, witty prose, fantastic. I love all of these characters. The thing that makes me want more is that, it's not that long. This is a 370-page book, and I have 6 to 7 important characters, so you don't get to spend a lot of time. It's quality time, but you don't get to spend a lot of time. And I'm an epic fantasy reader. I would read a Stormlight Archive amount of words written by Jemisin. I would do that. So that's my one little complaint. But I still love the antagonistic force. The ending might have been a tad rushed for me, but I enjoyed my time. I'm excited to one day reread this with the audiobook because I'm so jealous of everyone who has access to this audiobook, because I think Robin Miles just pulls out all the stops for this duology. I've seen some snippets here and there on Twitter when Gemma shares it, and it's just like, I love reading it, but now I want to hear it. So maybe that has to be a thing I work on for my next reread, because it's not like I'm not going to reread this. I still also really love the thematic stuff. I'm going to stop rambling because I am going to make a Should You Read for the duology. It's going to happen. I'm not going to just like do it here impromptu. I have notes. But this met my expectations. It's glorious. I just love it. And I don't know why. I don't know how this was not at all marketed to me as a signed copy, but it's a signed copy. And brought me a lot of joy. It brought me a lot of joy when I saw that. I got a little emotional because this is my first and only signed Jemison at the moment. And in general, I tend to like want to meet people for signings. Like I want to have an associated event with that. So I still want to meet her one day and have her sign something to like commemorate that moment of like, I'm meeting an influential artist in my life, but that is not yet. And that's okay. I can wait. But this was nice. It met my expectations. The next thing I'll talk about that I finished was Death by Dumpling, and I'm going to just be brief because I'm doing a vlog of these. Presumably, I have filmed footage, so I think I'll finish this vlog. If you make content on YouTube, you know sometimes you start a project and it doesn't always end up the way you planned. Like my novella Hugo project, I was planning that to be a vlog, and it got away from me, and I was like, this is not as coherent as if I just sat down and talked about these books. So I changed it. But I am going to have a cozy mystery video of sorts in the future, and so I will have more thoughts there. But Stephanie's been doing me well. She has given me 2 of the cozy mysteries are in Ohio, which just I think amplifies the cozy factor. This was fun. I finished it this weekend while I was doing laundry and chores before we went to a friend's, and it was like the perfect activity for that. Yeah, and I was looking, the series already has like 8 or 9 books out, so I might continue. I haven't decided yet. I'm still working on what like I like and am ambivalent to in cozy mysteries, but this was a great re-entry into cozy mystery space, which I've been away from for a while. So now, what am I in the middle of? I am in my reading only Indigenous works for 7 days challenge for Skoden Readathon. It's happening right now. I am currently, while filming this, in day 2 of that. So before I talk about those works, what that meant is that I doubled up on reading stories in Terraform for a week so that I wouldn't be reading from this, because the challenge is very explicit. You only read works by Indigenous authors, and this is not, I mean, I'm sure there probably are 1 or 2 Indigenous authors in here, but it's not. And so I've read the entirety of the second book now, called Worlds. And I think I liked Watch more, but in general, I like sci-fi short stories that look at technology and humans, which is what Watch was more like, whereas Worlds is more looking at different worlds. And I think some of them worked really well for me, and others I was like, this is depressing. So I just think I have more of a lasting impact from the first part, but it's still been solid. It's still been just like these nice, lovely, short little things that I've picked up. And then we will be starting Burn soon, but like we're still talking about them every day. I've just already read them. So this far in, this is definitely one of my favorite anthologies I've ever gotten for myself though. Still really hold to that. It's like exactly the type of bite-sized sci-fi that like I crave once in a while. So now, getting into what have I been reading for the Skoden Readathon, I guess kind of pivoting from short stories. So what are the short stories I'm reading in the morning every day? I've been reading Taktumi in the morning every day. These are Arctic Indigenous horror short stories, and I've only read the first 2, but they are not reading before bed Angela time. They're not like, I think, the most terrifying things in the world, but like I read the first story, which is these children getting to go home from school, like go home from school early because there was a snowstorm. There's a blizzard happening. It's like, yay, I get to go home, watch TV, hang out, get an extra hour of freedom, you know, that sort of energy. And then there's something in the blizzard and it follows this kid home, and then the power goes out. And it's just like, it's just, I was terrified. It was very much like adult Goosebumps level of terrified, if that makes sense. And then the second story was not like as chilling for me, but I was still just like, So yeah, really enjoying that collection. It's been really fun. And the other one I've started is actually, so the one I just mentioned is an anthology, but it's all, I think, from the same tribe. I'll put the tribe name here because I haven't figured out how to pronounce it yet, even though there is a pronunciation guide in the back, so I'm going to practice that. Also, it has a glossary, and this next one has a glossary, which I really appreciate because We are so bad at educating ourselves on indigenous cultures that if you try to type in some of these words, they don't come up with translations really easily. It's really frustrating. But this is a collection by one author. This is a Cherokee Nation author, and that is Man-Made Monsters. And I've read the first two in this, and this seems to be following like a family or generations of people through the ages. So the first two I've read have been in the 1800s, and one is vampire, and the other one was more Frankenstein. And so it's been an interesting project. I'm really excited to see the arc of this entire short story project. I don't think I like this as much in terms of like creeping me out, unsettlingness as Taktoumi, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm curious to see where it goes. And it's not falling into the trap that I have kind of seen in some young adult short story collections where like these stories aren't meant to be short stories. I think these are actually well crafted and paced short stories. It's just a matter of, are they creepy to me? But like I kind of see like the theme of man-made monsters and how it affects the family and stuff like that. The second story was epistolary, which was really fun. So this is definitely a fun collection to explore, and I'm curious to see where it goes. Everyone who's talked to me about this says it like really picks up and like becomes more fulfilling as you get to the end of the collection. So those are my short stories I've been reading every day. I've been reading at least one from each a day. So I don't think I'll finish them during this 7-day challenge, but I'll keep reading them because that's who I am. And then I've picked up Alyssa, which I am having a lovely time with. I do think the internet did this book justice for me and getting me prepared for what it is. Although I do think, for my taste, I think I get confused when people talk about books in a certain way, and I do think part of that is that I stopped reading young adult when I was like 19 or 20, and I'm 29 now, so it's I read it here and there, especially if you've been on my channel for a while. I read a duology here and there. I read a trilogy here and there. You know, like I dabble, but I don't think I ever got burnt out on it. I just stopped because life got busy and all I read was Sanderson. Like there wasn't a really big reason for it. So lots of way people are always like, it's the younger side of young adult. Feels maybe a little more like older middle grade or something. And our main character is 17, and I think this reads actually more like a fantasy cozy mystery, having just read a cozy mystery. And I don't feel like it reads like middle grade at all. Granted, I don't read a lot of middle grade, and maybe there's just a lot of overlap between middle grade and cozy mystery. But I feel like the family dynamics and the friendship dynamics are very age appropriate for 17, which is the middle to older end of YA. There's not as much angst. Maybe that's the thing. There's minimal angst in this book. The parent-child relationships and honesty there. The communication is like top-notch across this entire book. And we are trying to solve or prove who the murderer is of her cousin Trevor. And it's been a really interesting mystery because it's like kind of like, it's one of those types of mysteries where you kind of know who did it. Like the question is not who done it. It's how did they do it and how do we prove they did it? Like how do we do, and I think that's a really fun framework for that. I love the animal companion of her dog, the ghost dog Kirby. I love that. The audiobook's great. The friendship with her best friend, and it's so fun. In the world, I think something that I was prepared for but wasn't prepared for how much I'm loving it is the world. This is urban fantasy. It's a world where there's always been supernatural presence, but like the world building of that and how subtle it is and its effect on climate change, the differences depending on culture. Like Alyssa magic can be learned, it can be taught. It's not the same as the magic of her best friends where he can like kind of form a light because he is part of this Fae nation and he can use these traveling circles to get to visit her because of this Fae circle. Like, it's really cool. I think it's one of my favorite versions of that I've read in a while. So really engaging world. I'm loving all the character dynamics. It's an engaging mystery for me. And we've just had like some reveals in that space. It's got parallels to like Buffy for me, just like less angst. So is it just because it's less angsty that people say it's younger YA? I don't know. Because to me, Alyssa feels like an older teen. She's, not super brash and impulsive, although I accept that from older teens as well. Like she's just a young person who wants to make sure she's doing right by her family's legacy and her family, and she's respectful of those around her. I don't know, it just, I'm weirded out that people like compare it so much to like middle grade, which is like 12 to 14-year-old characters on the older end. So I don't know, but it feels more like a cozy mystery to me with a really cool urban fantasy world, and I'm loving it. Also, it has these like storytelling sections, which I eat that up, where we get to hear different stories about her like great ancestor and just other like myths, and it's fun. I think this is Apache. So this is the Apache Nation. I think, or maybe it's not called nation. It's the Lipan Apache tribe. So I've been having some good diversity in terms of the tribes I'm reading from too, which has been kind of an accident, but fun. Is there anything else I've been reading I wanted to talk about? No, that's it. So the next works I will also attempt to read, start, finish in this week challenge. One is Son of a Trickster, which this just feels like a cover that is very now. This is a Canadian author. I don't think it mentions her tribe on the back of the book, but I'll try and look into that. But I know it's, not in the lower 48, so that's the second one, because Taktumi in this. So that's pretty cool. But I just also have the entire trilogy, so if this, really speaks to me. But I have heard there's, content warnings for, I think, drug abuse and things like that. This is more like a contemporary, maybe fantasy, magical realism-ish genre. We'll see. Those are, the light expectations I'm going into this one with. And then I want to read another Stephen Graham Jones, this novella. I have it on my Kindle. So I think that would be cool. Although I did already read Stephen Graham Jones, so I don't, need to, but do I need to read any of these? I just want to. This has just been a very fun challenge. So, yeah, and then, of course, once I'm done with this challenge, I have an arc of The Lost Metal, so I'm probably only going to read it a day before I get my copy of the book, but I'm going to start The Lost Metal, because it's time. It's getting to be time. But for me, my challenge does not end until Sunday. And so maybe Monday, unless I still have books to finish up, I can start The Lost Metal. But for sure Tuesday. For sure. All right. And then housekeeping things, the ACE discussion is going to be on Saturday. And if you're watching this right now on Friday, I'm going to be participating in Skoden Readathon Sprints at the Native Book Warriors channel. So I'll have that link down below. So come join us. Bring your Indigenous works. Have fun. So now for the book haul. First, I have The Prox Transmissions. This was sent to me by Amanda, who is one of my patrons, and she was so sweet to think of me about this. This seems like a really cool, intriguey sci-fi. So someone wakes up and they have these words written saying, shave your head, and then there are these numbers, and he has to figure out what's going on. I think it's a he. Unsure. Dr. Stephen Browning. Yes, he, and he pronouns have been used. So it seems like it's going to be a really interesting story in that regard, and I think it's put together by Starset Society, which is a group that she really likes and saw in Ohio, and while she was there, she got it signed for me, which is just incredibly sweet. So I do want to try this out. It's definitely, indie published and stuff, and I should read more sci-fi that's indie published. I'm definitely, it's kind of mixed media. I just flipped through, and there's actual kind of handwritten letters. That's pretty cool. So this is a short work that I'm excited to have on my shelves and try out. And then I have an arc of The New Fond-du-Lis. I probably won't read it till 2023 because this doesn't come out till, when does it not come? April. So I don't read it too early, but look at this cover. This is stunning. I don't know what this is about. It's a Fond-du-Lis book. I will read it. I think it's very different from the Greenbone Saga. Don't care. I will read it. So this is Friday Reads. Let me know what you're reading, doing, watching. I will probably be watching more Jane the Virgin, as is my life. I'm almost to season 3, because, again, that's just what I've been doing. And I will be playing more Mass Effect. I just keep getting scared of boss battles, because I'm very bad. But I learned that you can pause in the middle of fights, so growth. Absolute growth. I'm using bonuses and things, the learning curve of going from not playing video games to trying to play a video game is steep. It is so steep. But if you want to leave an emoji, leave a dog for Kirby. And otherwise, if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.